Hello and welcome to the Pig and Whistle Tales from Azeroth. As always here at the Pig and Whistle Inn in Stormwind, I go through a variety of subjects with regards to World of Warcraft. So grab a bottle or a pint, sit back and enjoy. This week's episode is going to be going over toxicity and sort of the negativity in WoW. These can be from players or the sort of ideas around the game, that kind of thing. But we will obviously start off with the weekly news, and that is the 5 different sections. The world boss for this week is I still am getting used to these world boss names. Basrikron. Yeah, we'll go with that. I think I change it every week, but yeah, Basrikron. It doesn't sound right, but that's what we're going with. The brawl for this week is South Shore versus Tara Mill. This is a brawl that is a 40 versus 40, and it is a shit show. It will blow up your PC. If you're running a potato PC, I would not recommend doing this brawl, I will say that. But it is good fun if you are a caster. Casters have more fun in this sort of game mode than melee do, unless you're a rogue, in which case you're picking people off that are coming from spawn, which is always good fun. The event for this week is Dragonflight Dungeon event, so you get an extra piece of loot for completing Dragonflight dungeons. This is Mythic, Normal and Heroic. I did them in a very weird order. Normal, Heroic, Mythic. I should have done it. The Mythic affixes for this week are Bursting, Explosive, Fortified and Thundering. Bursting, whenever you kill an enemy, essentially they leave a dot on you and it can stack consistently, so help your healer out, pop a defensive if you kill a lot of enemies within a very short time frame. Explosive, simply kill the floating explosives. They do a lot of damage or line of sight them, but healers keep on top of this as well, as it allows your DPS to just pump more damage into the actual mobs. Fortified, the mobs that are non-boss enemies are a little bit more scarier. They have more health and do more damage, so make sure you bring a sort of build to deal with them. And Thundering is the seasonal affix. You get a debuff on you and everyone else in your group, and essentially you have to cleanse this buff within the 20 seconds that it is on you for. This is done right at the end of the debuff, as you obviously have a damage increase while this debuff is active. So make sure that you cleanse this right at the end for the most value out of it. The spell that we're going to be looking at is Colossus Smash. Colossus Smash is a warrior ability for arms, and it was released in Cataclysm, and it's had a few changes since then. So in Cataclysm it had 3. It was obviously added, and then a few months later ignores 50% of hostile player armor, but continues to ignore 100% of non-player characters' armor, PvE, which is really, really good, by the way, because if there's something that is very good or just passively tanky against physical, then obviously you won't necessarily be too upset about going through 100% of its armor. And in PvP, obviously 50% is still very, very good, as it means that, you know, a warrior duel all comes down to who can get the best sort of go with Colossus Smash. The next change came nearly a year later, just under several months. Colossus Smash now uses a new character attack animation. That's the one where the warrior leaps up into the air and sort of brings the sword, mace, whatever you're wielding, down onto the character. It's quite a cool little animation. It had one change in Missa Pandaria, no longer available to protection specialization. The rage cost has been removed and causes the physical vulnerability effect on the target, and it can be used in any stance. The physical vulnerability just increases physical damage taken by 4%, nothing too crazy. It got one change in Warlords of Draenor, which is 2 years later, now available to arms warriors. Only arms warriors, now requires battle stance, costs 20 rage and deals 225% increased damage, and no longer causes the damage of slam. Okay, weird. No longer causes physical vulnerability as well. So big change for arms warriors and all warriors, because it started to basically solidify itself as a big cooldown for arms warriors only. In Legion, it got a few changes. Now increases damage taken by the target instead of bypassing armor and lasts for 8 seconds, up from 6 seconds. Its rage cost has been removed and damage increased by 34.67%. Very weird. Very accurate, I must say. It got another change, which is just a small change to its cooldown. It is now a 30-second cooldown. And it got a further cooldown reduction to 20 seconds, and its damage was increased by 10%. This is all within Legion, within the span of about a year. It got one change in Battle for Azeroth. It was now redesigned as a major cooldown. I'm not sure what that means, but essentially, yeah, I guess they added a bit more time to it because it is now a 45-second cooldown on the ability itself. Got one change in Shadowlands, just simply available at level 19 instead of 50. And in Dragonflight, you can now acquire it via the 5th row of the Arms talent tree. Very simple. Colossus Smash has been in, well, since Kata, and it's been very much a big, prominent feature of the Warrior. It's like, oh my god, they're going to really mess me up here because they have shattered your armor, essentially. That is the sort of, I forget the words for it. The role-playing element? No. Class fantasy, that's the word. The class fantasy of it. They have shattered your armor. They've hit a massive blow so heavy that your armor has just been shattered and you're sort of doing more damage to them because they are essentially naked now to you, which is kind of cool. It's very class fantasy and lives up to it. It's got very cool animation, very cool sound, but yeah, it is a staple point of the Arms Warrior, very much so, now more than anything. So, toxicity and negativity in WoW. A couple of these points have obviously happened to me before, but it's all over World of Warcraft. It is all over World of Warcraft. Sadly, it is. A lot of people like to tuck themselves away in their own sort of guild or their own sort of bubble, their own sort of friend group, and don't want to necessarily deal with a lot of toxicity or negativity in WoW, which is completely fine, and I understand that. It ruins the game experience from a lot of people's point of view, but it's something that shouldn't be in the game, but you will obviously, as an MMO, as millions of people are playing it, find these people. A couple of examples. Negativity, I was doing a mythic, or I was on late one night, and essentially the daily quest was Ajol Narub on WoW Classic. Now, Classic I find a lot more toxic than retail. I find it different in terms of its toxicity. In terms of toxicity for retail, it's very much like, oh, you find someone in looking for group, play a couple games, lose a couple games, and then it's like, oh my god, this is awful, and they just leave. They might message you and be like, learn to play or whatever, but you just can't be bothered because it's like, okay, well, I'll just find someone else. The classic version of that is everyone will just start flaming you. It's what the fuck, you are ridiculous, and it will just be this all-out argument. Now, obviously, it takes two to tango, but essentially, if you reply with, I really don't care, then suddenly it's an essay that you get back from them. This is my sort of understanding of it, but I feel like because of the community of Classic, everyone rages about the community and how it's part of the game. Well, sadly, people in this community are toxic as well, and you kind of have to accept it. That's probably why it's more prominent in Classic than it is retail, but I tend to stick to my own guild, essentially, to enjoy the game itself more than anything. But yeah, I was doing WoW Classic one day, and I was doing a Heroic Plus. Now, people wanted to do Heroic Normal, but everyone was geared enough. Everyone was geared enough. But this isn't toxic, by the way. This is just pure negativity. And this is on my end. I'm very guilty of being negative when it comes to Classic, and that's really something that I need to work on. But essentially, we go into heroic. It's a Naru, but so the first few mobs are pretty much the most annoying ones. They fixate, they web wrap, they disorientate the tank, so they just sort of hit other players, that kind of thing. It's not great. But yeah, we walk in. It's me, a priest, a DK tank, and 2 mages. Okay. We walk in and we pull the first pack, and it's like, oh god, this is ridiculous. Like, this is ridiculously hard. And it's like, okay, well, we're all very decently geared, but the fact that you're pulling 800 DPS is the problem. I'm sort of having red flags go off, like, okay, he's pulling very little damage. Both of the mages, by the way, both mages, they're both frost for whatever reason. Actually, I think one of them was arcane. No, one of them was arcane. Yeah, one of them was arcane. Holy shit, he was doing no damage. Essentially, yeah, you have these like sly little comments like, oh, that was really tough. And it's like, it really isn't that tough. It really isn't. All you got to do is kill some web wraps and do damage. So we wipe. We wipe twice on some ads. And this mage is constantly making small, snide little comments like, yeah, I knew this would be ridiculously tough. Or like, yeah, this is impossible. Like, it's not doable. And it's like, okay, you're being... The negativity doesn't help. And the fact that you're just saying that it's impossible, it clearly isn't. People do this daily. People do this daily, constantly, as a Heroic Plus. My god, if this was a Mythic... This would be a Mythic -5, for the love of God. Heroic Plus is not that difficult. I'm sorry, Classic like players, but Heroic Plus is not that difficult. It is a baby version of Mythic Plus. Mythic 0 is Heroic Plus. It's that simple. Now, I get that they had to bring in an iteration of Heroic Plus for Classic to sort of get you started off and to get you... or to see how it is welcomed by the community, which I think is a great idea. I think Heroic Plus is a great idea, and you can really expand it. And it's sort of a trial run, but it is a Mythic 0 if you're comparing it to retail terms. It really isn't that tough. But this mage was just constantly making the small comments, like, that really start to grind away at you. And all the time he's doing the damage of someone who is max level in the past expansion. So he's doing like 30% of what he could do damage-wise, which I find absolutely ridiculous. He must have been using Blizzard Rank 1. I'm almost certain of it, he was using Blizzard Rank 1, because the damage was literally non-existent. So he's constantly saying this, and I'm just sort of like, okay, yeah, whatever, it doesn't matter. And he dies. He goes, all right, we'll give it one more go. So he dies, and then he's like, okay, this isn't going to work. Like, see ya. And yet we're still, like, killing the mobs. Like, we didn't wipe. We're still killing the mobs, and we actually managed to kill the mobs and kill the boss in the time that he's, like, running back and stuff. And he just doesn't say anything. And, like... We get to the final boss, Anubarak. It's like very early in the morning. You're just thinking, okay, well, I'm slowly getting more and more tired. I kind of just want to kill this boss and, go to bed. And yeah, that's it. So we wipe on the last boss multiple times. And the thing is, we're wiping because the mages aren't killing web wraps, which, by the way, have like 2,000 health. So one fire blast will kill them. The mages are doing 1k DPS, and to put it into perspective, people in Ulduar, in a raid situation right now, are doing about 8k DPS at like the sort of higher end, they're doing very good DPS. 8k is like a fairly average amount, like to good to like high end. In a dungeon, in a Mythic Plus dungeon, if you get a good group and sort of everyone knows what they're doing, you can roughly go to about anywhere between 3k and 6k. Anywhere between that range is sort of, yeah, that's fine. That's fine for a Heroic Plus. They're doing less than 1k. They're doing 800 to about 1.2. It's infuriating how little damage is happening right now. I'm doubling. I have over double, or like their combined damage put together as one player. Like, it's absolutely ridiculous. I swear they're not even pressing their buttons. I swear they're like half AFK. They might have fallen asleep at their PC for all I know. But no, it was just, we constantly wipe. And then he's like, oh, I wonder what's the problem. And then it's kind of when, like, you just had enough. You've just had enough. Now, it's kind of, this is on me, but I kind of just said, the problem is damage. We do not have the DPS, straight up. And I was like, it's really late. I've got to call it. Like, sorry, but it won't work with the damage that we have. So I leave. But, like, it's not great. And by all means, like, it's not perfect from me. But when someone's constantly just slowly grinding your, like, mind down with small, snarky comments, and they're not even doing anything in the dungeon themselves, they're the ones that are the problem. And it's like, yeah, this is impossible. And it's like, yeah, because you're making it impossible. You're making this a grind. You're making this a lot harder than what, like, it needs to be. But yeah, sometimes negativity in a dungeon setting, in any raid setting, can have a a domino effect, sort of a negative impact domino effect, because it gets to people, it starts to grind them down, it starts to make them annoyed. And then if you wipe randomly after 2 hours of raiding or whatever, or in a dungeon, then it's like, oh my god, just shut up, no one cares, and stuff like that. And then it's just a toxic, the negativity turns into toxicity. That's the thing. And I had a solo shuffle that didn't necessarily go my way. It's quite annoying, yeah, but I'm playing healer. It's an ult. I don't really care. I've DC'd from a solo shuffle game. Not like rage quit. My internet fully turned off. I was actually streaming at the time, so you can tell that it just went. But essentially, I was mid-round, and then my internet just goes. And it's like, oh, okay, what do you do? So I try and reload the internet as quickly as possible. By that time, 4 rounds have been played. I've obviously lost all 4, but it hasn't kicked me from the game. So I'm like, sorry, DC'd. It's one of them things. Let's get it. So there's still 2 rounds to be played for. And the fact of the matter is, chances are that everyone came out even in that game. I didn't really check. I just know that I won 1 out of 5 rounds, which is a bit of a shame because it's a lobby. It was a solo shuffle lobby, which I was actually going to enjoy. It was like Rogue, Demon Hunter, Lock, Shadow Priest, something like that. I'm pretty sure it was a priest. Yeah, the priest is the one that got annoyed. So I log back in, and the first thing that I see is simply report him. First thing I see as soon as I log back in, and it's like, okay, well, firstly, I just say, really fucking sorry, I DC'd. It's one of them things, let's get it. So we go on, we lose the round. Now, is that my fault? No. Maybe I might have fucked up a cooldown or something, like in the round, but essentially it's not my fault, it was the team's fault. We didn't win the round because we weren't the better team. So I win the next round without the priest, and essentially that's game over because all 6 rounds were played. So I gave a healer some free SR. You know, I thought I'd be generous. But essentially I get out of the arena, and then I get whispered by this priest. And it's like, you fucking, like, just absolutely going at me. And it's like saying absolutely everything like that you can imagine. And why the hell are you queuing up if you're just going to stand there and do nothing? I don't get people's frustration. I explained what happened. I said, dude, I'm sorry, I DC'd. It happens. I got back as quickly as I could. But he would not listen. He was just, well, why did you DC? And it's like, my internet cut out. Why did your internet cut? I don't know. I don't work for the bloody company. They just cut it out at 4 a.m. for whatever reason. I'll give them a call at 4 a.m. No, it's a consistent thing. They do it like, you can't just continuously keep sort of internet on. I think they just reset it to sort of keep it going again. I don't know. But like, he just wouldn't stop. he just wouldn't stop. So the way that I deal with toxicity and toxic players towards me anyway is I simply just put cool smiley face. That's it. That's it. No matter what they've said, no matter what I've said, if they're just continuously messaging me, I just put cool, good to know, smiley face. Something along them lines. Or just like smiley face without anything else, just a smiley face. And it's like all hell breaks loose at that time because they can either say nothing, in which case you're left in peace, which is really nice, or they get even more wound up. And that's the thing. You're just sat there putting a smiley face, minding your own business, already in the next game if you're a healer queuing for solo shuffle. But he's there typing he's a keyboard warrior going for you. He's searching up your IP address. He's looking for your PC manufacturer, your internet provider. He's going to DDoS you. And like, you're just sat there smiling. And it's like watching this guy have a meltdown almost. Now, by all means, like, if you'd rather just put these people on ignore, do that. But it's more like, if you're going to be a dick, like to me, then I would rather wind you up more because, well, what more are you going to say? If you say anything more, anything like that's very profound, then essentially you're going to get reported for it and you might be banned. I'm not going to get reported or banned for putting a smiley face towards you. It's one of them things. And there is a literal agreement that you have to sign before you log into WoW. I think every like major patch or whatever, so every 0.1 or 0.2 patch, that kind of thing, where it says you have to be like basically chill when it comes to communication, no verbal abuse, that kind of thing. You literally have to sign this when you log in on a major patch. You have to scroll to the bottom and press accept. If you do not press accept, then you get kicked out of the game. So he is legally accepted that he would not do this, and it's one of them things. So by all means, if you want to carry on and have more of a chance of getting banned, do it. I don't care. It gets you out of the game. And it means that you won't sort of verbally abuse someone that might not be able to take it as well. That kind of thing. You know, there is no place for toxicity or negativity in WoW. But there are ways to go about dealing with it. Mine is simply, negativity-wise, you want to stop it before it really takes root. In my case, I didn't necessarily do that, so I could probably like have said, no, we got this, like we just got to do a little bit more damage and pump more numbers, that kind of thing. Something along them lines. But yeah, the negativity I didn't stop. Toxicity, you can ignore, or you can just report it as well. Make sure you always report it, any toxicity or any toxic behavior. Do not let it ruin World of Warcraft. I mean, lots of people in like the forums are even toxic. It's absolutely ridiculous because everyone will complain about, let's say, demon hunters are overpowered. They're doing way too much damage. We'll say that. So we go on the forums and there's a forum post, about 100 posts. Demon hunters do too much damage. 2 of them posts will be very intellectual. They'll be like, I don't understand why they do so much damage with a simple throw glaive, as well as heal for like 150% of the throw glaive. This is hypothetical. And then under that, you'll have a reply of like, oh my god, they don't do that much damage, just chill out, you're being effing stupid, you know, all of that stuff. And then it's like, what's the point in putting that? This is obviously someone who's playing Demon Hunter, but you're not making a case as to why they aren't doing enough damage. You're just straight up verbally abusing this person because he doesn't have the same opinion as you. Like, it's everywhere in World of Warcraft, and it needs to kind of stop. It's a lot more prominent when you do stuff like looking for group in retail, like pug raids in Classic, anything like that. But essentially, you want to kind of find a group, find a nice little bubble that you can enjoy the game with and sort of stick to that bubble. Now, obviously, there will be people that you interact with that aren't necessarily friendly, but you just kind of got to deal with it. You can either report them, ignore them, etc. But yeah, it's tough to deal with at the time, but you need to realize that it is an MMO and you will come across these players. That's the sad thing. There will be these players in the game. All you can do is report them and move on. But hey, after how many years has it been? Nearly 20 years of World of Warcraft. It's never going to go away. It's never going to go away, which is sad, and got to deal with it. But that is it for this week. Thank you all very much for listening. Do check out the Twitch as well as Patreon down below. Twitch will be streaming, the next stream will be on Sunday at 7 GMT, so you're more than welcome to pop over. That's just me and my guild doing the classic raid, doing some old War, chilling out, having some fun. But thank you all very much once again, and go with Valor, friend. Goodbye all.